So lovely, right? Our next guest knows the royal family inside and out. Hilary Fordwich is a royal watcher, a former journalist. She used to cover the royals for another network. Hilary, good to have you with us. When you look back at all things that happened today, what stands out to you?
I think, Anna, it's the greatest contrast we've seen. And as the previous reporter said, it was the happiness, it was the sheer love. Something that nobody's really mentioned much about, too, was Prince Charles. You know, he's always had this image and be, purported to be, sort of stiff and cold to the boys. His love and his warmth just radiated. And notice, it was Meghan that requested that he greet her and walk her for that second part down the aisle at the choir, and you could see the warmth that he radiated. But it wasn't just to Meghan, it was to her mother. And I think to her mother, Dory Ragland, you could see the amount of times he came over, he talked to her, he embraced her, and also the royal family in entirety. The minor royals were startled. I think you could see how startled they were at the soliloquy from Bishop Curry. I think it was the duration that startled them, and yes, I think the passion they're not just used to seeing. So I think startled is the best term there. I think overall it was love and it was a warmth that hasn't been experienced at any previous royal weddings in history.
Well, as Nick mentioned, we'll always sort of think of them as Harry and Meghan. They both come across so approachable, and you talk about the special touches that sort of broke the norm of these royal events. So many people are mentioning that sermon by Reverend Michael Curry. You mentioned, too, we saw a mixed reaction from the guests. Smirk, smiles, some mouths agape. What did you make of this touch of the Black Church?
Well, I think that they were startled just because they've never experienced anything like it. The missed opportunity I think he had was no one can remember everything he said in 13 minutes. It was important that he quoted Martin Luther King. And don't forget, the Queen has endorsed everything. Nothing would have been undertaken if the Queen hadn't agreed. It had a definite touch of Meghan Markle's taste, what she wanted. So it was very American. I think the passion was actually well received initially. I think it was the duration. And the sad part is no one can remember every word in a soliloquy. So he missed the opportunity for tight sound bites that everyone will remember forever. Everybody remembers President Kennedy saying the torch has passed to a new generation. Well, I don't know how many people can actually recite what Bishop Curry said. So I think that's the pity of it, that it was less is more, and he exceeded the sort of appropriate time. Other than that, it brought an American touch that startled the minor royals into the new era.
And that gospel choir, I don't think anybody will forget that rendition of Stand By Me. I know I won't. That was unbelievable when you talk about, again, that aspect of Meghan's life and culture coming to be part of this event. There were also several nods to Princess Diana today. Meghan's bouquet included her favorite flowers, the forget-me-nots. Diana's sister led a reading, and tonight on the way to their wedding reception, Meghan was wearing one of Diana's rings.
Yes, she was. She actually didn't wear any other makeup from Princess Diana. I think what was important, too, was, as you mentioned, Lady Jane Fellows was Princess Diana's younger sister. I think it was a somber, touching moment. I also think that Elton John, of course, was there, and he had sung at Princess Diana's funeral, and that rendition went on from Candle in the Wind, went on to sell 33 million records, and I think that was very important that he was there. So Prince Harry had his mother's relatives and his mother's friends there, and you mentioned the bouquet. Prince Harry picked those flowers himself from the garden this morning, and I think that he chose the flowers he knew his mother wanted. Not what somebody else thought, it's what he wanted. So the biggest contrast of this wedding was it was highly personalized. The guest list was what they wanted. Actually, at his wedding, Prince William had gone to the Queen and said, "Granny, I don't recognize anybody on this list." It was all the European royals and heads of states. And she said, "Rip it up." And so he did. Prince Harry and Meghan were allowed to pick who they wanted. And you saw friends, celebrities, and a very real wedding that was family-oriented. And it brought America and England closer together. The special relationship endures.
I love hearing, too, that the Queen was okay with them doing it their way.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, she endorsed this. Nothing took place that she hadn't already agreed to.
Hilary Fordwich, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your perspective and insight. Coming up, from the gown to the fashion.